Welcome to the deep dive. We take the incredibly specialized technical notes you send us and we turn them into knowledge you can actually use.
And today's is fascinating.
It really is. Today, we are submerging ourselves in a world where, well, meticulous documentation meets biological engineering. We're talking about specialized fish breeding.
And not just any fish. We're focusing on the ever-popular dwarf cichlid, the Apistogramma.
Which are notoriously difficult, right?
Oh, absolutely. This deep dive really shows you the massive gap between just, keeping fish in a tank and being an expert breeder. They are so sensitive.
So they won't just brood because you put a male and a female together?
Not a chance, no.
Huh.
It requires this high-level, really intentional intervention, both of their environment and their food, to trigger that reproductive cycle.
And our source material for this is just fantastic. It comes from qianmeng.org, Notes on Fishkeeping, and get this, it's part 167.
167.
Exactly. I mean, think about that. This is not a casual hobbyist. This is a long-running project by someone the author calls an old software plumber who just reignited this whole project.
And that commitment is really what we're focusing on. If you want to breed a species like this, you have to go way beyond just standard tank maintenance.
It's like a two-phase campaign.
That's a great way to put it. You perfect the environment, and then you perfect the nutrition.
So that's our mission today. We're going to analyze the very specific, very high-effort steps an expert takes to give these fish that critical final nudge to spawn. We'll break down the checklist they used and, more importantly, why each step works.
We're going to see how an expert makes the magic happen.
Okay, let's unpack this. So it all starts at the home.
Right. The notes begin by saying the pairs are currently acclimating to their new environments. Now, this isn't a passive thing.
It's not just them getting used to it.
No. This acclimation period is actually phase one. It's all about signaling to the fish that the conditions are absolutely perfect for raising a family.
And that signal is black water. They're intentionally creating black water. For people who might not know, why do that? Why not just, use some chemicals to soften the water and dim the lights? Seems easier.
That's a great question. And it's really the difference between just approximating something and truly replicating it.
Okay.
Black water is chemically unique. Yes, it's dark, but the really critical things are the tannins and humic substances.
Which come from?
In this case, Indian almond leaves. Chemical softeners, they can lower the hardness, sure, but they don't provide those vital biological signals the tannins do.
So what are those signals? What are the tannins doing besides just, tinting the water brown?
They're incredibly important for apistogrammas. They replicate the water chemistry from their home in South America, slow-moving rainforest runoff. So they soften the water and they lower the pH.
How low are we talking?
The breeder is probably targeting a really acidic range. I'd say somewhere between pH 5.5 and 6.5. And that low pH is, well, it's completely non-negotiable for two big reasons. First, in that soft water, Apistogramma eggs don't have a tough shell. The low pH acts as a natural fungicide. It stops the eggs from getting wiped out by fungus.
Ah, okay. So if the water's too alkaline, you could lose everything.
You lose the entire clutch instantly. And second, that dark acidic water actually suppresses stress hormones in the fish. It makes them feel safe and secure, which lets their reproductive cycle kick in.
So security literally translates to fertility.
Precisely.
Okay, so that's the why behind the black water. It's protective nursery. But the notes also say this is coupled with consistent water changes. Why do that if you're trying to keep the leaves and tannins in there?
Because it's a really delicate balance. You want a low pH, but you don't want stagnant, polluted water.
Right.
So those small, frequent water changes are to remove nitrates and refresh minerals. And it lets the breeder carefully, redose the cans to keep that pH exactly where it needs to be. It requires constant monitoring.
And it's not just the water chemistry. They're also focusing on the physical structure of the tank. There's common salvinia for cover and artificial paves.
And strategic pot placement.
Right.
All of that just reinforces that sense of security. The salvinia is a floating plant. It provides shade, breaks up the light.
So they can hide?
Exactly. And they're cavity spawners, so they need those private little spots. The strategic pot placement isn't random at all. The breeder is defining territories, making sure the female has a perfectly dark, secluded cave to lay her eggs. It's a secure nursery.
So that's phase one, environmental perfection. They've replicated this fungal-resistant, stress-free rainforest home. But the notes say that even with all of that, the pairs are still not ready to spawn.
And that's the critical turn, right? The environment is perfect. It's saying it's safe to raise fry here. But the fish themselves, they still need one more push.
They need the resources.
Biology demands resources. And the breeder figured it out. The fish are safe, but they're not in peak reproductive condition. The notes say the final nudge often comes down to power feeding.
This is where that dedication of the old software plumber just blows my mind. I mean, setting up a blackwater tank is one thing, but this feeding schedule, it's intense.
Oh, it is.
Small meals, 3 times a day. That's not a hobby anymore. That's a part-time job just focused on feeding.
Absolutely. We're shifting from signaling security to signaling absolute abundance. And the high frequency is key because you want to get maximum nutrition in them without, polluting that delicate blackwater chemistry we just talked about.
You're grooming them into peak condition.
That's the goal. You're maximizing their stores of energy, fats, proteins, everything they need for egg production.
And the diet is super specific. The notes just dismiss standard pellets. They won't cut it.
Not at all. This requires a rotational diet of specialized high-protein foods.
Let's break down that menu. The list is high-protein flakes, bloodworms, baby brine shrimp, and Daphnia. What is each one doing metabolically?
Okay, so think of it like this. The high-protein flakes, they're the solid baseline, vitamins, minerals, that sort of thing.
The daily multivitamin.
Yeah, exactly. But the heavy lifting comes from the others. Bloodworms are basically nutrient bombs. They're incredibly high in fat and iron, which are critical for the female to rapidly develop her ovaries and produce a big, healthy clutch of eggs.
Okay, what about the baby brine shrimp? That seems to be the classic go-to fish food.
It is, and for 2 good reasons. Nutritionally, they're packed with protein. But behaviorally, they're a live, wriggling food.
The movement.
The movement triggers a really strong feeding response. It signals an influx of fresh prey, just like they'd find in nature during a boom season. It's a secondary trigger.
That leaves Daphnia. I usually think of those as more of a cleanup food.
And that's exactly why they're essential here. Daphnia are all about gut health. They have a tougher shell, which provides roughage, fiber.
Right.
If you're bumping your fish full of rich, fatty foods like bloodworms 3 times a day, you risk digestive problems. Daphnia keeps everything moving, making sure the fish absorb the maximum nutrients. It's a very sophisticated, balanced approach.
So this power feeding phase is the real measure of dedication. It's an active manipulation of their biology to get them ready.
It is, and it usually lasts about 1 to 2 weeks. And once that's done, we move into the crucial 3rd phase, observation.
This is where it gets exciting. The breeder is now looking for clear visual signs that all this hard work is actually paying off.
Yep. The watch list has 3 classic signs of readiness.
Which are intensified coloration
Courtship displays.
and the cleaning of the caves.
Those are your feedback loops. The intensified color, especially that vivid yellow or orange on the female, that's a direct sign of hormonal activity. Her body is broadcasting that she's ready.
And the courtship displays are the dances and fin flaring.
Right, that confirms the pair bond is solid. But the final, most definitive sign is the cleaning.
Cleaning the caves.
That's the practical step. The female will physically scrub the ceiling or the walls of her chosen cave to make sure the surface is clean and ready for the eggs. That's the point of no return. When you see that, you know it's happening.
And we get a real-time status update in the notes, which is so cool. We can see the effects of the power feeding.
Yes, the notes confirm it's working. The female's bellies are clearly rounding out and their colors have intensified.
That rounding belly is the proof, isn't it?
It's the absolute physical proof that the bloodworms and brine shrimp did their job. Her body is provisioned for massive egg production. This is exactly what the breeder was aiming for.
But the notes also add a little dose of reality. It says it's still a bit too early to tell.
And that's the final lesson here, patience. You can control the chemistry, you can control the nutrition, but you can't rush the final biological trigger. You have to wait for that cleaning behavior.
So what does this all mean? We've pulled out a really clear strategy. First, you have to meticulously create that specific natural habitat. The blackwater tank, pH 5.5 to 6.5, using leaves for tannins.
And providing the physical structure, the caves, and the cover.
Right. And then second, you have to employ that rigorous high-protein power feeding, rotating through foods like bloodworms, brine shrimp, and Daphnia.
All to get those final physical cues. The rounding belly, the intense color, that confirms the fish are in peak condition, ready to go.
It's a remarkable level of commitment. But there's this fascinating meta layer here that we have to talk about before we finish.
Yes. The number.
The number. This note is part 167.
And when you dig into the source, you realize this author, this old software plumber, keeps equally detailed multi-100-part journals across, well, wildly different and highly technical fields.
Yeah, we're talking about huge notes on free and open source software, deep dives into programming languages like Haskell, Go, and Rust.
And then on top of that, specialized journals on high-effort gardening and detailed logs on dieting and even typesetting.
The sheer breadth of it is it's astonishing. Mastering aquatic biology, complex systems engineering, advanced software development, all while documenting every single variable.
Meticulously.
The fact that one person maintains that extraordinary level of rigor across so many diverse fields, from cichlid breeding to Rust programming, it raises a pretty profound question for you, the listener.
If this breeder applies that consistent, meticulous, part-time job level of dedication to something as niche as priming a dwarf cichlid, what could you achieve if you applied that same rigorous Part 167 methodology to your own main focus?
What level of mastery is unlocked by that relentless commitment to detail?